You're listening to the PPL Podcast. Now for your host, Darren Perkey.
Hey everybody, what's up? It is Darren Perkey with the PPL Podcast. Today's episode number 9, I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. We're going to talk a little bit about the indexing issues you're having here with Google and what's going on, some of my insights, what I think about, and kind of take it from there. But let's get rocking and rolling. So this question comes from Steve Stewart in our local, our pay-per-lead marketers group on Facebook. So it's facebook.com/groups/pay-per-lead marketers. Really good group in there. A couple hundred people in there already, just talking about PPL, just kind of shooting the breeze and seeing what's working right now in the actual issue here, the actual PPL space. First time talking on the internet, sorry. So the question here is, as a question for Darren or David Longacre and anyone else who's seen recent changes, I heard that one of the things a recent Google update targeted were websites that had multiple location specific pages, example, plumbers in any town or mold remediation in any town. It seems like they may have been targeting mass page builder sites. It's been I've been building mine manually with spun content, interlinking, and on-page SEO, title, meta, etc. I have been building several pages plus service pages. Most of the time most of mine are something that I really can't make a judgment call, but can any of you guys share if you've seen any major changes? David Longacre, who's one of the admins and a kick-ass PPLer, said they have been indexing low quality sites for a very long time now. All my regional and national sites have duplicated content, but are actual real sites, social signals, citations, links from websites. Always treat your websites with love and have them, I've never had them de-indexed de-indexed before. I can't read apparently. So here's where I think a lot of people are taking two pieces of information and combining them. So obviously David Longacre is right on this one, but let me just kind of explain this more. I do spin content, so I prefer to do spun content. I think the days are numbered of duplicate content, meaning that it's the same exact text minus the cities. I think that will change one day. I think it's not necessarily anytime soon, but I think that's a logical next step eventually or not necessarily next step, but a logical step for Google to take would be to eliminate those pages. That's an easy way to do that, but there's a lot of good spinners out there. The problem is two things. Number one, most people who spin content don't spin content the right way, where they just have like gibberish on there. There are tools that help you spin content, but I've always done it manually. Mainly with a tool, don't get me wrong. I'm using the best spinner, but you can use whatever you feel it's comfortable, as long as you can read it. You don't have to do this like 3 or 4 layer spin. I do content blocks, but anyway, it doesn't really matter what that is. Anyway, so the indexing issue. Okay, so let's think about this as if you were writing an algorithm to create an index to show in a SERP, right? So if you were creating Google, right? If you were trying to show relevant results, and don't think of it as a marketer, right? Because you're a marketer. I don't want you to think like a marketer here for a second. Think of like a search engine. Be a search engine for a second and think about what they're thinking about and what their goal is. So, excuse me, Google's goal is to provide relevant content for you when you search. Things that are meaningful to you that makes you want to stay and use Google all the time. Because what happens is when you use their search engine, they can show you more ads, they get more data on you, they can sell that data. There's a whole idea behind that, right? So don't allow the theory that they're trying to help a business owner survive or whatever. And I've made this statement before that I get criticized all the time for. People call me out on this all the time. But when you're writing an algorithm to solve this sort of problem of providing relevant content, you're not thinking very much about local searches, right? It's not the first thing you go into when you sit into a room. You think, listen, how can we help Jim's Plumbing show up better in the SERPs, right? That's not what they're doing. Now that's a result eventually, right? How do we get the better websites to show up better? That's why the local searches, you see a lot of crazy things that should never be allowed in the SERPs. Guys doing a bunch of footer links, guys doing kind of duplicate content everywhere, it doesn't matter. Those local searches are not something you're going to go into a room and try to figure out. That's not really the goal here of a search engine. Now, this is where people say, well, that's not right because they're trying to get relevant sites up there. What I'm telling you is that they're thinking when they go to write an algorithm. I write algorithms too for my own business, right? To do stuff to get better optimization for my own stuff, not necessarily for my PPL business, but my software as a service business. I try to write internal algorithms to make things and get data and make better uses for my data. So I'm not trying to figure out how to make this call flow better, right? That's a secondary thing that we're trying to do. So I own a company called Clerks, and we built this huge software thing, and we're trying to like figure out how to like make flows work. What I'm trying to figure out though is how do I get the least amount of time for my clerk to get off the phone, right? How do I get that person to calls in to our service, to close them, and move on to the next call so I can make more revenue, right? I make more revenue per hour when I can close that call faster. So I'm not thinking about the workflow. In a way I am, right? Obviously I'm thinking about that to an extent. But I'm really trying to say, okay, what's the software basis for me to see, and what can I put on the screen so the clerk can get these questions that we need answered out and then get the person off the phone so I can go to the next call so that person can take another call in that hour. If I'm paying someone $15 an hour and they're handling 2 calls an hour, I'm paying them $7.50 per call. I'm only charging $5 per call. I need them to take 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 calls an hour so I can make money, right? So I'm trying to get, the first thing we're trying to figure out first is the software side, so that when someone calls in, their information pops up on the screen. We do a bunch of things, kind of algorithms that make certain logical steps when they're calling, what product releases we had recently, different things like that, to get them on that linear line of, okay, this person is probably calling in for this because they're calling at this time, this happened recently, whatever it is, right? They're this kind of customer of this other partner that we have, whatever it is, right? So that is a workflow, but I'm not thinking about that when I'm building my algorithm. My point is that Google's not thinking about the local plumber when they're trying to build their algorithm for searches. They're thinking about the bigger brands. Now, not that they want to show bigger brands, okay? They're not trying to look at bigger brands and say, how do we get Huffington Post to rank higher than the local plumber site? That's not what they're doing, okay? That's not what I'm saying. People think I'm saying that. That's not what I'm saying. They're not thinking about individual big brands. They're saying, how do we get really important fucking websites, like really big important websites that have people already love and have a lot of engagement on and already find it useful? How do we what's the measurement for that, right? And then you reverse engineer that. That's how it works. When I was a quality analyzer, right, people think, oh God, yeah, I did not work on the algorithms at Google. I never said that before. I have never remotely talked about that before. I was a quality analyst. I was a lead there. I helped run a group of people who were independent contractors to verify Google results. That's what we did. So we had quality guidelines. That's the whole thing there, right? So I helped run that team. So the idea is that we wanted to make sure that people are finding the results that we're producing with our algorithms useful. And what was that? There's trust, there's quality, there's things that they look for on those pages, right? So back to the point. So when you're building an algorithm, you're thinking about overall metrics. Like, every site should have this. Every site should have this. Every site should have this. This is why when you go to local stuff, the chances of that site having, there's supposedly 200 and roughly 260. There's like 253. I don't know what the number is, but different portions of the algorithm that are checked on a search. Now, a big, huge brand, as an example, CNN, Huffington Post, whoever, are going to have more of those 250, whatever it is, checkpoints, right, versus a local website is going to have maybe 30 or 40 or 50 or 100 of those, right? So you're going to see skews, right? You're going to see, like, how is this brand new website with no metrics outranking a guy who's been in the business for 20 years? How is that possible, right? This guy has a good on page. I have links there. I have everything's good. This other guy is brand new. Nothing on here is outranking me. Why is that? That's because there's less signals at a local level. It's the way the algorithm works. It's impossible to get. You're just not big enough to have all these signals. You don't have that many social signals. You don't have constant traffic coming in. There's just a lot of things that go into it. So they can't use all the metrics to get your result. So, and you can listen. We can debate this all day long. Nobody knows the algorithm. If we did, I'd be a billionaire, right? I would not be a millionaire. I'd be a billionaire. So it is what it is. I don't care if I'm wrong. It's what I feel it's correct. I've tested a lot of shit in my life. I'm pretty good with it. Okay. So what's happening is, let's just take an example of a 30,000 page website. And I don't build these. Now, if you want to talk about 30,000 page websites, that's something I would definitely recommend David Longacre talk to you about. Maybe I'll bring him on an episode so we can kind of shoot the breeze, whatever. But what normally happens here is that it's thinking about a site. If a site is constantly producing content that no one is going to, how valuable is that site? Okay? So think about this for a second. If the Huffington Post all of a sudden, and I'm using a random example here, so don't get your head around Huffington Post is the most authoritative site in the world. I have no idea what their domain metrics are. I've never looked at them. I don't go to that site. I'm just using an example, right? CNN, Fox News, whatever you want to talk about, doesn't matter. If they, let's just say they posted the next 150 posts that they post on their site, right? They do 3 posts a day, every day for 50, I don't know, whatever, it doesn't matter, right? The next 2 months they do that. So they have 200 posts roughly that are brand new. No one goes to those posts. No one visits their site. Those posts that are brand new are pointless. Nobody even is even reading it. Nobody wants to go to there. The headlines are horrible. Nobody reads the content. No one stays on those pages. Nothing. They're not being shared socially. No one's linking to them. Nothing. What do you think would happen to the overall indexation of the rest of the site, right? Some of you will say, well, it shouldn't matter because those new pages aren't affecting the old pages. But I would say your domain authority just went down, right? In real time, you're becoming less of a news source. So Google should penalize you, quote unquote, not penally like we talking about penalizing, but algorithmically penalize you because you're becoming less relevant. Until you start producing better content, and again before, I've had a post on quality content before. People misconstrue what quality content means. Just because there's a good amount of content, it's long, doesn't mean it's good quality. Just because it's gibberish doesn't mean it can't be good quality. It could be good quality even if it's gibberish, doesn't matter. Good quality content is metric-based, not feelings-based, right? It's, are people linking to it? Are people sharing it around the web? Are people reading it and staying on the page the whole time? Does it have the same topic on the whole page? What is all that, right? There's a lot of things that go into what's good quality content. But if you're building a 30,000 page website and only 25 of your pages, which are the major cities, so let's say you build an entire United States, 30-something thousand major cities, or quote unquote cities in the States. If only 25 of them are getting traffic, why should your site get any traffic at all? Because you have 29,975 pages that aren't worth shit. Your site's not worth much. So why shouldn't it be de-indexed? There's nobody going to these pages. So I always give the example of building a local site in West Palm Beach, Florida. So that's where I live. I live in the South Florida area. I live in a small little city called Green Acres, okay? And I live in it's like a suburb of Lake Worth, which is a suburb of West Palm Beach. It's not really how it works, but it's close enough way to figure it out. So if you're going to go into the West Palm Beach area and build a site for all the cities in West Palm Beach, let's just say there's 30. Let's just do a random, I don't know the number, but let's say there's 30. And only one page is getting traffic. Why should your site rank at all? Your site's not relevant, right? People who have built like really quality websites, if that's not being linked to, no one's sharing it, no one's doing anything with it, either through social or whatever. Like there was this patent back in the day called Agent Rank, and a lot of people called it Author Rank. I think it was Author Rank, but it was called Agent Rank. The actual patent was Agent Rank. I think it was the first one was 2007, then it updated in 2011. This is right before Google Plus kind of started. Remember back in the day, you used to be able to see your images inside of Google, and the SERP, you would see someone, the author stuff. And the idea behind this was, and I think Agent Rank it's really important. I think it's a really good algorithm. The idea being, how influential are you, and how much do you share? So if I, as an example, I have very little authorship on the web. I don't write much on the web. I do a lot of posting and stuff, but it's not under my name, not under my brand per se. Like, I don't even have a website for VZ Pro anymore. I took the website down because people were getting form submits 15 times a day for stuff. I'm not dealing with people outside of what I want to do. So what happens is, if you're, let's say you're a prominent writer at the Wall Street Journal. If you write a post, that should be because you've built trust. Now, how is that trust built? When do you share? How often do you share? What other influencers do you share? How many things do you write that you actually get viewed on? What's the time on your views? How many of those things that you write get shared? A lot of things that go into that whole what's called Agent Rank, okay? Which became Author Rank, but the really patent is called Agent Rank. We just called it authorship instead of that because we had the authorship meta that we could put inside of our sites. So what happens there is, like, I think this should be the way. That's how you get rid of links, right? You can get rid of links by doing this sort of thing. When they tried it out, it sucked, but there's a way to. I really do think there's a way to get this right. So if an author writes a story on the Wall Street Journal about entrepreneurs, right, and you being Joe Schmo with a 15 person audience writes an article about entrepreneurs, the guy from Wall Street Journal should rank higher. Okay? Now, you can say that's not fair because it should be equal balance. No, that's completely fair. The guy who's the authority should be ranking. That's the way it's supposed to work. Because you're more authoritative, you should be ranking more. That's the way it should work. Because you need to build an audience. That's why I love what Google did. YouTube just changed the way YouTube channels work. So this channel, I think we have less than 100 subs right now. I've just started this podcast not too long ago. We have less than 100 subs. I cannot even make money on my YouTube channel until I have 1,000 subscribers and over, like, I think it's like 400 hours or 40 hours. I forget the number of 400 minutes or something like that, or I think 400 hours maybe. I forget what it is. A bunch of views before I can even monetize my site. I love that idea, right? Build a community first, and then you can monetize. Don't forget, YouTube's not profitable. Let's not forget that, right? They think they're making money, but they're not. They're not making money yet. So become an authority first, and then you should get rankings. That eliminates a lot of these site builders that are like day one, build a site for build a $1 website, put it on there, build real fast, and rank within a couple days. That's how you eliminate that problem, right? It's who the authorship is. Now, there's ways to scam that. Obviously, you can become an author. There's a way to scam G&B stuff if you become a local guide. You can just get rankings up like that. I just did a video the other day for my group, for my PPL profits group, that we basically just showed. I literally got a thing verified instantly because I'm a level. Well, that one happens to be a level 5, I think, account, but one of my accounts is level 10, and so I can just go in there and make a G&B listing and get it approved right away because I'm a local guide. So I can do that. There's ways around everything, right? But for the most part, you have to put in some work to get that level, right? You have to put in a lot of work to get to that level. So, okay, you're still providing quality content because then you lose authorship. Remember, if you start writing bad posts and no one's reading your stuff anymore, you lose authorship. You lose ranking in the authorship ranking. It's almost like quality score, but for authors, or what we call agents, right? So back to the point. So if you're building a 30,000 page website, only 25 of those pages are. Yeah, listen, you might have 25. You might have 4,000 pages ranking number 1, but if no one's going there, what's the point? Who cares? If you're ranking for local plumber, that's awesome. If you're ranking for how to change a condensate drain line on a 2-ton unit built in 1991. That's your ranking for. Great, but who cares? No one's searching that, right? Not to say you shouldn't have that kind of content on your site. Don't get me wrong. Actually, a portion of your content should be what are the quote unquote those blog posts. But there needs to be some level of for you in your mind authoritative website building. Just like with PBNs, whatever it is you're using, you should be building sites that are quality and people want to go to. Now, you might say, who the hell wants to go to a local plumber site? Totally get it. Totally get that, right? But if your pages are built around local plumber in a certain city, so plumber, West Palm Beach, and you have ways and FAQs and you're doing social stuff and you're helping people solve their plumbing problems either on their own or through using you as a service, that's where it comes into. Now, again, you're not going to have as many social shares as the large plumbing company that has 45 trucks. Of course not, right? Now you could quote unquote fake that stuff, but there's things you can do. But this de-indexing thing for larger sites is natural because they're not getting traffic. You should be cultivating your site on a regular basis anyway. Just like I have a lawyer site who's getting a small law firm site. It's getting 9,000 visitors a month. It's a small local site. They have one office. They have I think 5 or 6 attorneys. But they have 9,000 people coming to their site a month. Why? Because we cultivate the content all the time, which means I remove... If blog post has been up for 6 months and it gets little to no traffic, less than 10 views, I take that shit down. I don't keep it up. I want all my pages that are actively live, that are getting some kind of traffic, to be up, obviously. But they're getting little to no traffic because I haven't shared it enough or nobody cared about the content. I take it down. I just unpublish it. I'm on WordPress for the most part. I just unpublish stuff. Right? I'm constantly making sure that all the good stuff is showing. I don't want any of the bad stuff to be in the index in the first place. I don't want a bad piece of content to be in the SERP, even if it was ranking, because guess what? That person's probably not going to convert if it's a bad piece of content. That might think I'm a bad producer of content, right? So you should be constantly cleaning up your sites and doing stuff. That's what a normal site does. If you're building this now listen, these mass page sites, if you also want to do turn and burn, totally fine. Burn through websites, do whatever you got to do, keep doing the same one over and over again. Do a really good fun content, keep producing 5, 10, 20 sites in an area, totally fine. That is a strategy. I don't do that, but I totally get it. It's totally fine. Just don't complain. Just don't complain when that gets de-indexed, because you're doing nothing to say this site is worth keeping up. You're doing nothing to promote the site or make the site more valuable. You just want to do the littlest amount of work to get the most results, which is totally fine if you want to do that as a strategy. You're going to burn through domain names. That's totally fine. But just do that then, right? But don't complain that you're getting de-indexed because you're not building an actual website. Google wants to show regular websites. Listen, I'm sure maybe you guys haven't been in the business that long, but there used to be back in the day, you used to be able to search for anything. And the first 3 or 4 or 5 results were these parked domains that had the girl with the backpack on her back. It was horrible. And you just couldn't find anything. It wasn't useful. It just was not useful. Obviously, certain searches were useful, but most searches weren't very useful. So now it's hard to find a site. It might not be exactly what you're looking for because there's like a percentage of searches every day that have never been searched before, which is crazy to me. That's even possible. But there's a percentage of, I think it's a high number. I think it's like 20%. Don't quote me on that, but it's a pretty high number of searches that have never been searched before every day on Google. It's crazy. So sure, you're gonna have results that are not perfect, right? That's always the case. But you're also gonna have the vast majority of searches now are going to have relevant results. And if you're not constantly building your site and trying to become an authority on that topic with your site, that's why I say the easiest way to build authority is to build blog posts. Build your landing pages for your city and then add a blog. And just write the questions that you found in SEMrush and write questions. Write those questions out, answer the questions, and move on. And then share them on social media. Someone's looking for that problem somewhere. It might not be in your local area, but it makes your traffic relevant, right? So I don't worry. I haven't read too much into the whole de-indexing thing or not indexing fast enough thing when you build out new properties. I'm super organic when it comes to that stuff. I don't care if a page gets built today, doesn't get indexed for a couple of weeks. I don't care. I care if it takes a month, right? I want people to go to my site first, and I want to build an authority site so I can sell it one day. That's the whole point. I don't care about what happens tomorrow. I care about what happens the next 60, 90, 100, 365 days. I want to know what happens in the next year. If I can get leads from there, it's fine. I'm going to get leads from that site. Most of us are building brochures still, not lead magnets. That's the whole idea. So I just think we need to focus on building good quality sites in an area. As David would said, social signal citations, links, real stuff, right? Real quality things that normal sites have. Build that out, and then if that gets de-indexed, come back to me and talk to me. We can figure it out. But the vast majority are not doing that. The vast majority are building a site, crossing your fingers and hoping that shit ranks. That's not. Those days are still here. They still exist. Those days are numbered. That should not be the way it is. You should be able to build a site today and rank today. That's not how it's supposed to work, or even the next 30 days. I think it's crazy. That's why I love the thing with YouTube. Like I said before, I think you should build a community first. Build a community around your site. Make your site an authority first, and then you should start ranking for stuff. If you were a small business, would you build a site in a month and not use it anymore? If you were starting a local business, hey, forget the whole online business thing, but a brick and mortar shop. If I had a brick and mortar shop, I would be talking about that shit all the time in the local area. I'd be going to local events, doing stuff, people sharing my stuff, hosting stuff, doing whatever. That's natural. Why don't you do that with your web properties? It's real estate. I don't know. Just my thoughts. Thanks, guys, for checking us out today on the PPL podcast. If you are interested, please subscribe to the podcast here on YouTube or SoundCloud or where the hell we are right now, because I still haven't done iTunes yet. I'm sorry. I've been busy. But go ahead and subscribe here and let me know. And if you get a chance, join our group. Pay Per Lead Marketers is the group on Facebook, facebook.com/group/Pay Per Lead Marketers. And it's a free group, no pitching in there, just good advice for everybody. Everybody's asking questions all about PPL, no pitching your services, just everybody helping each other out with pay per lead. So let me know. I'll see you guys in the next episode of the PPL podcast. Later!